This is Sergeant Beast Larson. First of all, condolences, many prayers to the family and those very close to Lieutenant Lasco, Indiana Department of Corrections. Prayers and thoughts to the whole prison system and their loss. I'm a retired police officer. I've worked in corrections also, in a prison. There's two things that need to happen at this point. There's been some talk about different things. Yes, I agree with the firing of 2 officers. This job chooses you, but you also have to contribute yourself. And if you're not cut out, if you're not built that way, I'm going to use the words you know. If you're not built that way, you don't belong working in a prison. If you're not capable of putting all aside to protect your brothers and sisters in uniform, you don't need to be there. We've had this issue in the police department back in Kentucky when I worked back in the 90s, in the 2000s. What needs to happen? Counseling. They need a psychologist to come in. They need one that's trained specifically. I'm sure the Indianapolis Police Department has staff psychologists, psychiatrists that deals with post-shooting interviews, post-traumatic interviews like this, critical incident debriefing. That's what I'm talking about. What needs to happen is they need to be in briefing. They need to be on the shift of those officers that were on duty that day. Provide us free service provided. That's pretty much everywhere. Every state, every government organization. Your 5 free visits. Give those visits. Take those visits, officers. Take those. Take time. You need to talk. You need to communicate. Not just with each other, not just in anger, not wrestling in the backyard, playing basketball, not in the gym. You need to talk to somebody. We are human beings. As tough as we feel like we are, as much training as you can go through, doesn't matter if you're the SWAT commander, SWAT guys, if you're CERT team guys, you are a human being. You have feelings. You have a heart. You have a brain. You have emotion, mind, body, and spirit. Talk. That talking needs to happen. They need to be present in briefing of the other shifts that were off duty that day. Be aware. Look for signs. Look for trouble in people. The administration, the command staff, do soul searching for yourselves, for your staff, to make sure we don't lose anybody that should not be lost. Don't let things creep up on you. Hopefully there's a good protocol, and when somebody on your job has a tremendous injury or a fatal injury, they need to hear it directly from the right people. So hopefully there's a phone tree and process, meaning when we had traumatic incidents on the police department, a phone call would come from either the police chief or when we merged to the sheriff, somebody that was captain rank or higher would call each and every person on the department and tell them what was going on. Don't let this be heard by rumors in the news. It needs to come directly from command staff. The officers will respect you more if you do that. That's what you do today. That's what you do last week, this week, and next week. You need that briefing of the details they need to know. The future, how do you handle in the future? And I'm a defensive tactics instructor over 20 years. I was very, I was very fortunate. I retired from Boone County Sheriff in Kentucky, Sheriff Michael Helming. He was an incredible leader, and he did one thing that most places don't, but he could afford to do that because we had great staffing. We had great staffing and manpower. Every time we had a range day, who taught the PR-24, mace, hand-to-hand, defensive tactics, ground fighting. I taught all that. Every day they were at the range, I was there. Every new hire, he gave me 2 days with them in their first week. I was training with each officer as I kept records quarterly because I would show up in places they were and we would train. I could get to gym or facilities and I would say, Sheriff, I'd like to do training this day, Monday of this week, Thursday of the following week. this month. He said, okay, you got it set up, that's fine. So we had the manpower, we had the timing that we could do all of this, and had me with the energy to do this. I spent a great deal of time teaching and teaching with the red man suit on, role playing. I had a partner that was available to be there sometimes to have multiple people in red man suit. You have to have a training department, and you guys all have training. I'm not putting training down in any way, but your training at this level needs to rise. It needs to be on this level now, especially after 2020. Your training instructors, and I know there's liability, but you can do this and manage this if you work and you have this plan and you carefully write down and talk over how your scenarios are going to play out. Instructors, push and role play. I taught 9 years on the Sheriff's Department, defensive tactics, not one injury. I got a broke toe, one broke toe. Nobody else was injured, no workers' comp claims, nobody missed any shift, and I had officers, police officers, even fish and wildlife officers from Kentucky coming to my training. It was open. And when I would do these training days, I would call the dispatch, have them send a teletype to the nearby agencies, 5 nearby counties, as well as the state. Hey, Steve Larson's doing training on this day and this day this month. Anybody wants to come up, wants to do this. If you need to get certified into PR24, OC spray, contact him at this number. He'll make arrangements for you. It was open. We did that. Some places, when I went through Georgia Department of Corrections, there had been some lawsuits, there had been some problems. Their defensive tactics program was about 2 hours long. Not long enough when you have over 100 people in a class. You're not getting anything done. And I remember they would talk, the instructors talk and demonstrate something kind of amongst themselves. And as they demonstrated, we were supposed to be okay with that and then go on. You're not going to have officers confident to run to the rescue of officers being assaulted, beaten, and stabbed if they've got no training, no hands-on training. On the police department, even my detectives would show up. We had over 30 detectives on our sheriff department. These guys show up in gym clothes, tennis shoes, ready to roll with me. And we would train, we would work through this. They were interviewing murderers and serial killers, child molesters, the worst people. Anybody that can jump over a table like this, jump over the table and attack them. These guys trained and they were prepared. They were confident in their abilities. We have to increase our PT. We have to increase our defensive tactics training. The military has mandatory PT. Another issue I know, I'm not the chief, I'm not the sheriff, I'm not the warden, I'm not the one making the decision here. I'm offering a little bit of a way to go to protect your people. There needs to be more physical exercise. And when you have these special ops teams, the CERT teams and tactical squads and stuff, and they're doing these things and they run and they're close but not close, yeah, we'll put you on the team. We need to see improvement. Okay, understand that. But there's no going back and evaluating for that. There's supposed to be, but it doesn't happen because of prisons are understaffed. There's no time to get together, barely time to even train once or twice a year. You've got to make this happen, administrators. You have to. Show the officers, the sergeants, your first line of supervision, sergeant, lieutenant, shift commanders, that you're supporting them. Help build a better physical, a PT program. Help build a better defensive tactics program. And take that defensive tactics. I love to put the red man suit on. I'm not too old for that. If somebody called me, I'd be happy to come do that. Put that suits on. Push, push. Do 2-on-1, 3-on-1, 4-on-1, 3, 4-on-2. Put 2 trainers in a suit. I'm not going to talk about the individual things. I'm not going to say I've went into training and done this and that. Individually in training and I've done some things that's overwhelmed the instructors down at the prison. Yes, from my experiences. And they said that we're half speed here. And I said, no, I'm a CERT member. I'm going 3/4 speed in training. You've got to be able to accommodate that. Lastly, you do have officers with some great deal of training that are not instructors. You've got some guys come from other agencies, whatever, outside police, other departments, other states. I have a friend works in West Virginia now. He's worked in 2 different states, so he's seen 2 different complete training systems, but he's got experience over 5 years now. You need to utilize this. I had a discussion with the warden one time down at Hays State Prison, and I said, hey boss, you know what would be a good idea? What would help you to help all of us? And he said, what's that? And I said, have everybody, sergeant and above, write a resume and give it to you. Tell them on Monday, tell them turn the resume in by Friday, 4 o'clock. A work resume. Build this resume, turn it into you. You'll see some writing skills, maybe not. See how they actually can express themselves and see what their capabilities are. You may find that there's some people that are certified in things you don't know about. Maybe they've got training and experience in something on the outside that could be beneficial to you on the inside. Know your staff, then you can better manage your staff. You can build this to be better. He thought that was a good idea, but he never did it. Utilize the people that you have. Build this as a team effort. Build it as a team effort. Now, I wanted to keep this short. Again, many prayers to Indiana. The rest of my life, I'll be praying for Indiana because it may take a lifetime to get everybody emotionally through this, mentally through this. So you'll never be forgot, everybody, Indiana DOC. 2020, many attacks at Rikers Island on staff. It's growing. The unrest on the outside is making the unrest on the inside fester. It's all gangs inside. It's all criminals, the kind that have no problem with violence on an officer. A uniform doesn't mean anything to them. Keep in mind who's inside with you, what they're capable of. Physically trained for it, mentally trained for it. Defensive tactics needs to train. It's what we have to do. Hope you like this video. It lets you know that you're not alone in your thoughts and your feelings, being upset. Those of us my age, over 50, we've experienced things like this. We're here for you. Reach out. Never be afraid to ask that question. See you soon.